Hello, welcome to the Customer Success Festival. It is brought to us today by a feature of SAS. Many thanks to the organizers for putting together this two-day event. Many thanks to the other speakers who are congregating here to participate as well. It is a privilege for me to be here, and I wish at the end of this conference you take away some great ideas of customer success. It is a great privilege, as I mentioned, and thank you for joining us here. My name is Ayman Hussein. I live in Houston in the great state of Texas in the United States of America. It is 6 hours behind UTC. So some of you may be watching this late in the evening or early in the afternoon, depending on where you are. My employer is Microsoft. I joined Microsoft in 2017 and have been with them since then. The job I have there is that of customer success. I work for the Intelligent Cloud division, which encompasses mostly Azure, Microsoft 365, and Dynamics 365. These are cloud platforms. The success I have at Microsoft is to grow Azure, the use of it, the adoption. So my success is based on how much Azure is being used by my customers. Microsoft's success is measured by the growth of the Azure platform and also the customer lifetime value. That is actually something I'll be talking to you today, and hope you take away some of the ideas and points of view I have regarding customer lifetime value. My background is strategy and management consulting, and some of these have come to me over years of consulting and strategizing with many customers, both in IT and in business. So what am I going to be talking about today? Driving customer lifetime value by focusing on outcome and success. Let's break it down. The customer is the buyer of those products and services. That's the C of the CLV. Lifetime is a duration of time when they'll be doing the buying, and value is a measure of the worth. So customer lifetime value has to encompass a way for us to measure the customer, a duration of time, and the value it comes to us from. So I'll be speaking on this topic and hope in the next 10 to 15 minutes you gather some ideas that will help you understand my point of view, and we can share this in a way to have greater customer success. So let's put a definition around this. What is it really? We throw around the word CLV, but we have to understand the context behind it. Every marketer, seller, or advertiser will have a unique definition for it. So I've taken that definition, I've read about it, and I've brought it to myself for my job, just for my personal understanding. For me, CLV is a metric or an index which quantifies the amount of money an existing or perhaps a new customer is expected to spend while doing business with me over a duration of time. Maybe I have the relationship during that time with them, and I have established that with the customer to measure that. It establishes a value for me to know how much effort and attention I'll need to spend with them to grow the business or perhaps continue the business. CLV has become very useful for defining success in many organizations, either you are in the commercial space or non-commercial space. Why is it important? It enables me to determine if I'm doing the right things, if my approach is effective. Am I driving the boat, so to speak, to the end goal that I have for my personal success and perhaps in the customers? It'll give me a gauge to stop doing some things, or perhaps it'll tell me to do something more of it. And if I have this information, it makes me more effective, useful, and successful. So why wouldn't I want this information? Who wouldn't want this information? So at my role at Microsoft, I need to make my customers do more with the Azure platform. The Azure platform is a cloud platform, and I want them to continue using it. As stated in the first slide, that is my measure of success. So I want them to continue using it and never stop, ever, because that is how I'm gaining the most customer lifetime value. Now, is there really a way to calculate CLV? As a matter of fact, there is. This is the interesting part, that where we have brought math, arithmetic, science to this to create a formula. There is a very good way to do that. However, I'll also be honest. In the platform that I work, in the company that I work, it is very tricky to measure complex things that are technically massive. And in the cloud platform, it is very challenging. But let's, for simplicity, use an example that gives us an idea what this formula would look like. Let us pretend I'm a coffee shop owner, a proprietor of such, and my coffee shop is located in a building, and there's regular stream of beverage buyers that come and go. So that is my business. And let's see how I would create a formula for calculating CLV on it. So the formula goes as the average value of the purchase, the number of times the purchase is made, and the average length of the relationship. For this example I'm using, the length of relationship is 1 month. So let's take a regular cup of coffee, black coffee, nothing special about it. Let's assume it is $4 in this example. Let's assume a buyer comes into the coffee shop because it's in an office complex, buys 1 cup a day. So I'm expecting this customer to buy 1 cup a day at $4. And they work 4 weeks in the month, an average duration for the month, and it gives me $80 of revenue because of this customer. Now let's talk about a specialty beverage buyer. Maybe this customer likes lattes. The latte is $8 a cup, but they don't buy enough of it. They buy it 3 times a week, but they still come in 4 times a month, for 4 weeks of the month into the list shop. So if I calculate the CLV on that, that's $96. So now, as a coffee shop owner, I would sit back and say, what should I do more of? And what should I try to get to increase in the revenue circle? In this example, I should focus on a latte buyer. I need to find out ways to make sure that the latte buyer increases the amount of purchase from 3 cups a week to perhaps 5. I need to be creative. So the CLV now gives me the ability to understand where I focus and how I will do this. While this metric is very simplified, there's many ways to get data, and we live in a world of data. We have cash registers that are collecting many data. We have other demographic data that can be applied. The zip code, the postal code, the location, the type of coffee, the brand, many different things can be brought into an equation to help you establish CLV. Now let's use the coffee shop example that I just presented. Let's say I want to increase that latte buyer to buy more. Maybe I create a loyalty program. The loyalty program may guarantee me some repeat business. Maybe I create a customer profile. I want to know more of what they do, when they do it, and how they do it, right? So I'll create a profile. That's basic CRM in many organizations. We're collecting customer guest data to create a profile. Almost all retail organizations do this very well and very effectively for target marketing. Maybe I correct mistakes immediately. Somebody says this latte is done wrong, I fix it right away. So there's a appreciation of success based on the fact that I'm responsive. I'm acknowledging fault and having that vulnerability there. Maybe I call them by name. Now, if you have visited many coffee shops, especially the ones that are well known in brand, they will write your name on the cup and they'll call you by name. And if you're a repeat visitor, they will actually get to know you. They'll know your pattern, they'll know your style, and they'll holler at you across the way as you walk in. And that's a way to validate the customer, make them feel special. Maybe they create an upsell program, an add-on. Maybe if you buy a latte, you get half off on a donut. So we're creating programs to make this buyer that only buys 3 cups a week to 5 cups. And there are many ways we can do that. So the possibilities are endless. That's a great way to think of CLV. Now, how do I do this in my job, right? I work in the technology arena. I work in cloud and platform and services, not as simple as buying a cup of coffee. So I have to do something here in the software as a service, platform as a service, infrastructure service. I have to build a CLV method that works for me. Now, in your organization, in your discipline, in your industry, your job, you may have to do many different things to create the CLV that works for you. What I did for my job is I follow outcomes. Now, you may ask, what do you mean by outcomes? I actually focus my customers' outcomes, their success criteria. You'd be surprised, almost every customer of yours, every customer of mine has a customer of theirs. Either be in the commercial space or nonprofit, they have somebody they're serving as well. So I want to focus on that customer's outcome. It could be the buyer, it could be the decision maker, it could be the sponsor. They all have an outcome. So let's play it through. A line of business has an outcome. Maybe the CIO of an organization has an outcome for their success. It could be something very simple. The CIO may say things like, "Hey, I want to get a promotion. I don't want to get fired. I want to grow the IT portfolio." Whatever it may be. The CMO may want more metrics and data. The chief financial officer may want to run a very disciplined accounting organization within their ranks. There are many ways to understand the success criteria of that sponsored decision making buyer, the customer that you really are focusing on. The IT manager even has an outcome. They may want successful rollout of projects or technology. A salesperson may have an outcome. They want to have better leads and better success in closing deals. So I focus on the outcome. And you'd be surprised in any organization, wherever it is, you can hone in the outcome if you did due diligence of the account, right? So if you are in a organization where you have an account book of business, doing your homework in the US, if I were to go to a publicly traded organization, I would look at the financial documents that are available, the 10K reports, etc. So I would create a portfolio where I could understand what kind of outcomes they would be looking at. For example, a medical center, a healthcare facility may have an outcome of saving lives or improving healthcare or creating a medicine that cures diseases, right? If you're in oil and gas energy markets, you may have an outcome of producing more energy at a cheaper cost. So you can always understand the outcome. So how does it relate to my Microsoft Azure platform job? When I've identified this outcome, I've tried to focus on how I make it successful using the technology. Now I'm going to solve everything, right? Microsoft Azure is a cloud platform that has a peculiar way of doing certain things. You build for mobile, you build for the cloud, you have the ability to consume technology at a very transactional level, compute, network, and storage. So maybe the CFO says, I need an app. So now I can focus on building the app in the cloud using architects and designers that would do that, but with the outcome in mind, not the Azure SKU, not the product that I'm selling as Microsoft, but on their outcome. Maybe they need a supply chain app that gives them real time data analytics. Think of what happened during the pandemic. People ran out of toilet paper. Manufacturers overseas could not supply it fast enough. Some of them shut down because of quarantine. So if you think of that, what if I had data, and many of these organizations have data? What if I created a dashboard or a data lake or a data warehouse where I did real-time analytics and gave them the heads up that there is going to be a shortage or there's going to be a sudden increase in demand just based on a couple of days of information, right? We can get that granular if I know that's the outcome that decision maker wants. And that's how we get better at the CLV, by focusing on the outcome. So think of during the pandemic, now that we have a potential of a cure through the vaccine, logistics and shipping companies are trying to get very good at making sure that they can predict when stocks will be available at medical facilities. Think of all the technology components that can go in there. And if I was positioning Azure, I can do a lot of great technology development from apps, data lakes, data warehouses, analytics, IoT devices, you name it, artificial intelligence, machine learning. I can take all that and create an amazing app. Therefore, the customer recognizes I've succeeded in creating the outcome they wanted. And by virtue of that, there'll be a good amount of CLV, and a good understanding will help me achieve success. They will like what I did, they'll like what my team did, and therefore they'll continue to come back to me because I can solve that problem for them. That is the way I would do it in a very complex organization like cloud. But that CLB still applies. So how do I do success in my job? I focus on the customer lifetime value, basing it on their outcomes. So that outcome success guarantees me the customer lifetime value. Now I'm going to wrap up with a story. And this story is not related to technology, but it is relevant to the context that we have today. I used to live before Houston in the Boston area of the United States of America. It is in the Northeast corridor. It is cold, it's snowy in the wintertime there, and homes are built to have the ability to withstand those harsh climates and weather. I bought a house that was a little bit older and the roof was aged out. And to get good insurance for the house and to make sure that I don't have damage during hurricanes or nor'easter storms, I need a good roof that can stand the harshness of the weather. So I shopped around. I got a nice manufacturer of shingles that went on the roof, found the contractors that could come and do the job for me, and we started on the project. The contractors came in, took all the old shingles off, cleaned it up, put some boards in, put some laminate paper and things that would make the roof more sturdy and viable for harsh weather. And on day two, and this was a 3 day project, on day two, a white van pulled up in my driveway and a gentleman stepped out with a hard hat. On the van, he had this ladder on top. So I'm thinking it's a part of the crew, but it wasn't because the crew did not react to this man as, hey, it's a part of the crew, somebody showed up. And I started worrying myself. I got a little concerned. I was like, why is this person in my driveway pulling up and taking down the ladder and looks like he's going to climb towards the roof? Now I started thinking different things. And one of the things I started thinking was, hey, maybe I didn't draw enough permits from the city and I violated an ordinance or some zoning rule and I'm going to get penalized and fined. And so those are the things that are going through my head. And I'm like, hey, you know what, that happens. Maybe the contractors that are doing the work didn't have the right permit or didn't register with some agency that they were going to do some kind of work like that. You know, shingles have a lot of pollutants that are make contaminate the environment. So maybe there's a disposal permit I missed or something like that. So all those thoughts are going through my head. It turns out the gentleman goes up to the roof. He has a little iPad. He takes pictures and he does a lot of measurements and studies and looks at things and then he comes down the ladder and he's got a broad smile on his face. So I'm like looking at the smile and thinking maybe he is going to find me. Maybe he is part of the city and the ordinance guy and I'm screwed. But it turned out this person came from the manufacturer of the shingles. When I placed the order for the shingles through the contractor, through the reseller, the manufacturer got awareness that I was going to have a job where I'm going to put some new roofing on my house. The manufacturer dispatched an expert, and the expert came over for a purpose. The expert wanted to make sure that the shingles were being installed properly. Why? Because this roof came with a 30-year lifetime guarantee. But if I wanted 40 years, which was possible at that time, they had to verify the installation was done right, done properly, and done within the specifics that was established by the manufacturer. So the manufacturer dispatched this person, and they had to come on day two because that's when the installers were going to start installing, and they look at all the things that they needed to look at. And when he was satisfied, he gave me the certificate. And the certificate allowed me to get less insurance premium for my house to get it warranted and protected for disasters. Now, this security, this certificate was transferable. So when I sold my house, the buyer was excited that I had a 40-year warranty on the roof. So think of that. This roofing manufacturing company has a customer lifetime value that spans 30 to 40 years. They're banking on the fact that if they do it right, if they address all the outcomes that are necessary, there will be repeat business, or there'll be business to the fact that the house will be resold and the resold value will always hold. And the insurance adjusters will always like that roof was done right. And when the hurricanes and storms come through, the snow comes through, there'll be no damage, or it will be very light, if any. So think of that context. This person from the manufacturer came over to guarantee the installation, so the customer lifetime value and the experience went up. And that's the way you want to start thinking about customer lifetime value. That is the way you want to focus on outcomes and success of the person that has something to gain. And it's not necessarily you selling the product. It's not necessarily you putting a SKU in front of the customer to get that business. That outcome itself will drive the customer lifetime value. And by virtue of that, you will have great insights to drive more business or more wallet share. With that, I close out. We're going to move into question and answer, and hopefully I'll be able to read from the feed here and answer some of the questions that you may have. You can reach out to me through LinkedIn and Twitter. It has been a great privilege and honor. Thank you for participating and look forward to your questions.